world is such a terrible place.
And now more than ever, food is more plentiful and cheap.
Yeah, but isn't the environment being destroyed?
Clean water and good sanitation are increasingly available.
Yeah, but there's terrorism.
Our life expectancy is much longer than ever has been before.
And people are suffering from anxiety and depression.
Are we really worse off than our grandparents?
On this episode, we'll be covering why today is the best time to be alive. I'm Tyler.
I'm Donnie.
And this is the Course Correct Podcast. And so here we are again at the Course Correct Podcast, but it is totally different.
Things have changed.
What is different? The table, of course, and the setup.
Yes, we changed a little bit. You might notice little differences in the background. Last week we had a nice little change behind me, and figured to do that for you.
I mean, I don't know if I like this or not. I don't know how you feel about it. I'm kind of neutral. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's just kind of there. But I think what's more important is, like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, please.
You guys like this more?
Let us know if this works for you. You know, we're still. This is the second time we've sit in this room with this setup. We just did this, so we're still trying to work out how to address each other, the camera, different times.
We'll figure it out.
What do we do with our hands? I don't know. I don't know. What do I do with my hands?
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just interesting, and so hopefully this format works a little bit better. If not, we'll change it. But what's more important is just let us know. We really need to know.
Yeah, give us a like if you like it, and if you dislike it,
then
comment.
don't hit that. Don't hit that.
Yeah,
don't hit that.
Don't hit it.
You comment.
Yeah,
okay?
comment. Let us know, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
So
It's been a fun week. I'm glad we're here.
Gosh, man, we're so close to the holidays.
Yeah. Thanksgiving is very soon. I'm excited.
Yes.
It's my favorite holiday.
I'm ready for some time off from work.
Yeah, definitely.
That's mine. It's a day off for everybody that I work with, and all of you know who you are.
Yes.
I'm so happy that we're all going to be off on the same day together. It's the 3 times a year that we are. That's awesome. Yes. I'm so excited.
Nice to get some downtime. Nice to have the whole week off for me. Sorry to rub it in, but I am absolutely.
You're lucky.
I shall relish this week, and I will sleep in for you guys.
Please enjoy it for me. I'll live vicariously through you as I continue to toil away until Thursday. But yeah,
I mean, you can text me in the morning. I'll still be up early, but I'm gonna sleep in. I'm not gonna set an alarm. So I mean, just what a great time! Great time. Speaking of great times, what a great time to be alive. That is the whole topic of today, and so we wanted to address this issue because a lot of people may not agree with us. A lot of people may feel that there's a lot of different challenges that they face, and maybe you want to talk to some of those challenges that they may feel why today is not a great time.
Yeah, well, you can look at all the issues in the world, the poverty, and the third world countries,
the climate is changing, and war, and there's different ailments, and there's mental health crisis.
War, and we'll get into it a little bit later, but there's not a global war going on. I think that's
amazing.
Great. There's centralized conflicts.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's bad things that happen. There's, the drug trade can, tear apart borders of countries. The black market trade, all these, there's plenty of terrible things out there in this planet, but by and large, I think we are living in the greatest time in human history.
I agree.
It's amazing.
When you compare today to where we've been, my gosh, it is pale in comparison to the suffering that we felt for thousands of years compared to today. And there's so many different things that we want to hit on, and actually when we were pulling some information from this, we kind of had to stop. Because there's so many good things.
There's too much.
That we realized, okay, well, let's hit some of the main points. And so definitely wanted to go over some of those points of why today is a great day. And let's start off with, of course, we're in the week of Thanksgiving, yes?
Yes, and we have a lot to be thankful for, of course. I'm very excited to get to that day and chow down. Like, what is your favorite food to have on Thanksgiving?
Oh, mashed potatoes, man.
Oh, man, yes.
Are you a gravy or no gravy person?
No gravy. No
what?
Gravy. Just put butter in it. Butter and potatoes.
Yes.
So,
like the Irish.
What about you?
Well, I mean, yeah, turkey is great. The dark meat, the white meat.
Yes, dark meat all the way.
Yes.
Yeah. The white meat's so boring. It's just so plain. You
gotta drown it in gravy in order to enjoy it.
That's the only.
So that's where you spend your gravy is on the turkey.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's all right. But not on the potatoes. But
turkey's great, and ham, having nice little sliced ham, but rib roast. That's number one. Too. That's normally a Christmas thing that we like to do. And especially with my family, I love rib roasts. They're great.
But all this food talk making me hungry. Let's go over. I mean, compared to the last thousands of years, food is so plentiful. We have so much food,
and it's cheap.
At least in this country, and man, oh man, how grateful are we that, no matter where we drive, there's fast food, there's grocery stores, there's Walmarts, there's you can get food anywhere, even at your gas station. If you're hungry, you go grab a bag of chips. And so,
yes,
it's
at any time of night too, especially.
Oh my gosh, it's so true.
Yeah, if I get off late at work, I can go down to the gas station, get a milkshake if I want, maybe get some Reese's, whatever. And just like, here, the modern conveniences is great. Just having food available at any quarter, and everything's fully stocked too. Even during this year, we had some shortages up and down with COVID, of course, and we still were able to keep the shelves stocked across all these different stores. Right. And except for, toilet paper. Come on, people.
Can we
chill out?
Get it together.
There's another crisis with that.
Gosh.
Another toilet paper crisis. Come on,
my gosh.
Please. Stop hoarding.
I got some dirty butts.
Yeah. So an interesting thing that I found out is I was looking through American history, and I found out that there's never been a major famine in this country. We have never.
I didn't even know that.
We never experienced a major famine. And so where, you look at thousands of years of human history, famine was the norm. The famine was so normal that cannibalism was actually kind of accepted in a way, because it's either you eat the dead person or the person who's about to die. That way you can live, or you just starve, and starving was not a fun option.
An unfortunate reality of those times. And that's crazy. You mentioned we've never had a famine here in America. I've heard of the Irish potato famine, and you heard of these different famines throughout Europe, and it's crazy. Why is that not addressed at all? How do I not know that? And just on a basic, I have a good understanding of history and knowledge. Why hasn't that been talked about, that we just haven't experienced famine here in this country?
Well, I think after a few generations, we generally start to accept where we're at, and we take it for granted. And I think a lot of Americans do that. I'm going to say even myself, I take a lot of things for granted every day.
Oh, absolutely.
Just the normal conveniences of life, and the fact that we don't have to wonder where our next meal is coming from. I one time met a Russian guy. He was a foreign exchange student, and I told him, I said, I asked him, what's the best part about America? He says, you can get food anywhere you want. He says, when I was in Russia, you don't know where the next meal is coming from.
And there were bread lines, right?
There's bread lines, but he says a lot of times you go out and you hunt your own food.
Oh, that too, yes.
And I think that's great, but as most Americans nowadays, that's a lost skill. We really don't do that anymore.
You can't rely on that ability at all.
No, and in fact, it's something, it's so opposite to what we see for the past few thousand years, that we see so much excess of waste. We've both worked in grocery stores before. I can tell you how many times I've seen bags of food just thrown out. I've cried over bags of donuts being thrown out. Precious donuts. I love donuts. And they're just like, no, we got to get rid of it. And it's like, what a great testament to how blessed we are, that we have so much food that we have to throw it out.
And there's so many different types of food we can't donate, like donuts, or if something that's been cooked and that's been sitting out for too long, we can't donate that to somebody. It will make them sick. We have to draw a line and say we just can't give food away willy-nilly to anybody, especially seafood. That, for health reasons, obvious health reasons, which I don't know the specifics of it, but I'm not going to get into that. You have to throw that away, and that cannot be given to people, or we can't give away, fat content to people or even animals. Mm-hmm. We think about how great we feed our pets too.
Oh my gosh.
That just came to my mind, how much their caloric intake is just massive compared to what it was before.
Well, and it's interesting that you talked about caloric intake, because I found out from the mid 18th century, it went up from 17 to 2,200 calories a day to 25 to 2,800 calories by 1850. So like in a 50-year gap, they increased it between 500 to 700 calories, and that's in Europe, of course. And that was just the trend. It's ever since, the 18th century, we've just gotten more and more food, to the point now where, unfortunately, but it is, once again, it's a blessing, more people die from obesity than starvation.
That's crazy to me.
That is what a time. Like, holy crap, we have more people dying from eating themselves to death than starving. And you know what? I'd much rather be in this category than back 200-300 years ago.
Right, where you had to scratch and claw for your food, and you had to hunt. You had to know how to do that, or you had to chase down your prey in the middle of whatever fields and savannas and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That's crazy to me. I can't believe that we have such a luxury of food today and options and high-priced options.
Gosh,
there's a certain governor was caught at a restaurant, I think called the French Laundry, was $250 a meal, the average.
Wow.
Like high-priced meals like that. That's crazy to me too. That you can go and spend upwards of $500 just for 2 people on a meal. Just because the portion size too. It's a little tiny portion size. I'm sure. I mean, I haven't been there. I don't know. But you go to any steakhouse. There's big steakhouse that it's $100, no problem, just like that.
And when we're talking about this, we don't want to say that, there's nobody who starves in this country, because unfortunately the reality is that people do starve. But we're talking about, once again, if you look at the past few thousand years and you look at where we came from then until today, and the fact that from 1947, malnutrition was around 50% of the world's population was malnourished. And then you look at today, and that stands at 13%. Wow. That's progress.
That's progress, and that's economic progress too. That's amazing. Oh my gosh.
So the other component of food, obviously, water. That's worse, right?
Oh yes.
It's way worse. It's just so dirty and gross. And no, really, I mean, when you look at a lot of people, so I don't know what portion of the world, but there is probably in double digits and probably 10 to 15% of the world's population, they have to walk between 30 minutes to an hour just to get water every day.
Yes. And there are places like that
I don't
have water.
Mean walk to your pantry or refrigerator. Yes. I mean walk miles. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes. Miles.
There are people who have to walk miles for water.
Carrying buckets in it. That's unfortunate that those people live in those circumstances, and I'm glad that we have people that are willing to help them too.
And yes, and we should try to make sure that as we progress, we don't put limitations in our system of helping them achieve what we have in this country. And I think that's a great thing to share with the rest of the world.
Yes. We take water for granted way too much.
I mean,
we throw it away.
We have so much clean water. We go caca in it.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Like, if you were to tell that to a third world country individual from maybe Africa or something, they'd probably look at you like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm not saying
that. Dare you?
Yeah. I don't mean to be rude when I say that, but it's, once again, I know we're so blessed. Man, we are so blessed to be where we're at today and have the availability of food and water on demand.
Yes, and we can keep it clean too, and sanitize. It's it's filtered properly. It's in our the groundwater. It keeps getting replenished every day through the rain, the rain cycle and all of that. It's clean too.
Yes.
There's plenty of places that it's just not clean at all. It's dirty. It's gross. And there's some places in this country that happened recently. You think of Flint. That's That's the big thing that comes up, and it's like, wow, what happened here? And that was just government malfeasance, I guess, or just lack of management on the water end. But we have just access to great.
It was old
sanitation
infrastructure.
too.
It was really old infrastructure.
Yeah.
In the days I sold water filtration systems, I got a lot of people from that area who called in, and it's actually something we haven't talked about, but we live in a day and age where you don't like your clean water that you already get. You can buy a filter and filter it.
Yes.
I mean,
yes, it's
everyone
amazing.
has filters in their sinks or they're in their fridge, and then you have to replace it. Oh, that's that big inconvenience. I have to replace my filter every so often, whatever,
Oh gosh, it's so amazing. It's truly amazing. And in turn, we see, thanks to that, and we're able to live longer. Life expectancy, we're at an all-time high.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, hey, I think this is your line, but 10 out of 10 people do die.
This is true.
So
I say that all the time. 10 out of 10 people do die.
But it's what, 71 now or something?
71 is about the life expectancy versus in 1900 it was 31. So at 31, by today's standard, I'd be an old man ready to die.
Yeah, I think there's a famous song that says, when 30 was old.
Right.
And that's how ingrained it was. I mean, we got to that age, you never know. You could be dead from whatever horrible disease that hasn't been vaccinated or polio and affected so many people in the early 1900s, and we got a vaccine for that, and all these other terrible diseases that killed people, and then just natural causes too. It's safer to be around, but my gosh, our life expectancy, I'm amazed by that.
Yeah, it may be at 71, but I mean, we see so many people living to 80, 90, 100, 110, 115, and it's just amazing. I mean, this is mainly because of food and clean water and sanitation.
All those great things, yes.
Having advanced in these areas definitely help prolong human life, and that's a good thing. The longer somebody's alive, the more wisdom they have, and wisdom is different than knowledge. It's quite different. We need wisdom just as much as knowledge.
The longer, more people living longer leads to more development and more
correct
advancing, and more progress. That's amazing to me as well.
Absolutely. And something else that we found in our research, poverty, that is an all-time low as well. I mean, poverty, yes, it does exist, but we're talking about when you look at all of human history, I would say probably 95% lived in squalor. 95%.
Yes.
For the majority of human history.
They were peasants. They were, whatever the term for living, serfs, I think. Serfdom,
serfs, peasants, commoners, plebes, whatever. Those, the ones that don't have what we have.
Yes, and these people would live in these, immaculate palaces and all these big giant castles.
The lords.
Yeah, these lords, these dukes, the Duke of Ellington or something like that, and all these people. They had luxury items, which was like clean water, and even their level of sanitation wasn't high.
I was about to say
standard then, but
we live better than what they ever did.
Yes,
we live better than any pharaoh, any king, any queen, any ruler. You and I, just in what we make, we live better than them, and that's quite amazing. So then let me ask you this: by global standards, you see how blessed we are. Do you think America truly has poor individuals?
In the context of history and of the entire world, no.
I agree.
We have people that are definitely they're worse off for sure. But
of course, the poverty exists in this country. But I just wanted to get your take.
The hills of West Virginia and certain areas we drive around here, and we live here in Florida. We see some areas that are poor, but still they have such opportunity and access to things, and ways to make their lives better.
Like, okay, here's my thing. If you have a car, if you have a color TV, you have a roof over your head, clean sanitation, some
air conditioning,
smartphone.
Yes.
To me, I don't think you're poor. Now, I understand, so you might say, well, I'm struggling and I'm really working hard. Okay, I get that, and I'm all for you. Just try to work your tail off and better yourself and climb up the ladder as best as you can, because that's what will eventually create more wealth. Wealth doesn't just appear out of nowhere. Poverty is the natural state until you create wealth. And so over the past 200-300 years with capitalism, the amazing gift of capitalism that America has experienced, we have completely raised the majority of our country out of squalor. And that's just awesome.
And I don't have the exact statistic, but since 1980 and 1980s and 90s, I feel like we've lifted so many people out of poverty. And that's really with the internet too, I think, contributed to that as well. Mm-hmm. Internet has made millionaires and so many people rich. The computer, like Microsoft and Apple, their competition has brought a lot of people up from poverty as well. And the fact that we use their products every day, Microsoft and Apple, whether it's at work or on your phone, it's ingrained in our lives. All these amazing advancements just in the last 40 years that it's changed so dramatically, the poverty rate for sure.
Yeah, as technology gets better, it tends to benefit everybody because, well, things move quicker, more inventions occur, and, well, like you said, with the internet, it's basically the world library now has opened up. And so that's one thing that we're going to talk about, and that's literacy is widespread. I mean, we now have more people reading now more than ever.
Yes.
And that's a good thing. The more reading that occurs, the more ideas that people can contribute, and the different ways they can think, and different ideas breed better ideas in the end.
Yes, and the better ideas tend to beat out the bad ideas, for sure.
But there are bad ideas out there,
And, and the internet and social media, as we talked about, proliferates these bad ideas, but it's up to us to kind of, sort through all that. But I feel that our literacy kind of has gone up for sure, but it was much tougher. And I think you've talked to me about this before, how some of the questions for elementary schools back in 1800s, 1700s were much more difficult now. So our literacy, yes, has gone up overall, but are we getting smarter in some ways or dumber in some ways?
Well, yes, it can be contended both yes and no. Yes, we are really in a very intelligent society, being that we have the internet, we have the access to any amount of books, literature, journals, what have you. But, when you look at, I could show you exit exams from 1863 for fourth graders. Probably couldn't answer a single one. Not to be a jerk,
today, right? Yeah,
but it was a different form of education that we're going to unpack at a later episode of comparing modern education to America's original education, and how simple it was back then and how kind of complicated it is today. But just to give you context, the first grade exit exam was 81 questions about 150 years ago.
For first grade.
81 questions.
My gosh.
And I'm going to tell you, I've seen it, and we'll have to pull some up. We'll have to pull some up for the audience.
That would be good.
See if they can
Maybe
guess.
we'll put that in the description.
Yeah, we'll have
see
to
if you can answer any of these
see what
questions.
you can answer in the comments.
Right.
See how many you get right.
Yeah,
I'll post the answers later.
Right. We'll have to do that. That'd be a lot of fun because I look at it and I don't know a lot of this.
I definitely want to get into that with you. I mean, yes, our literacy is up, but it seems that it's not as advanced, or I guess it's a different understanding. I mean, at different times for sure. But when I instantly thought of the exit exams, and that's what it was. You took the words right out of my mouth. I couldn't remember that. But yeah, I think our literacy rate has helped contribute to the why today is such a great time to be alive.
Well, and advanced, back in the day, the Dark Ages. It was called the Dark Ages because nobody could read. And so when nobody can read, everybody's kind of dumb and they don't understand the world around them. They don't understand their role. They don't understand the role of government. They don't understand a lot of things because, well, that's not allowed. But with Johannes Gutenberg creating the printing press and everything, and people starting to realize, hey, all the clergy that they're telling us we can't read their Bible, and all these kings and queens that say we can't read this, well, now we know why. It's because it basically keeps us enslaved, and then shortly after you have the Enlightenment, and then you have a lot of ideas coming forward. So
imagine if he was alive today and he saw someone use a printer or a scanner, a fax machine, any of these amazing things that just came from his printing press.
Yes. Think about it. That's crazy.
And looked at a phone and said, "You can read. You have paper or a tablature on your phone that you can read articles from whatever newspaper."
You mean I designed this thing that took 12 hours to print one page?
Yeah.
And you can pull it up on this magic book device?
Yeah, it's crazy. Right from your phone, look
I think
up
it's
anything.
witchcraft.
Yeah,
that's what he would think. And what was the? I think I might know this, but I don't know if the audience does. What was the first book that he was printed using that printing press?
Oh, it was the Bible.
The Bible, yep.
He was the first person to put the 2 columns on each page, so that way he could print more and make a smaller book, if you will. He was the first one to do that. According to my research, it could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is correct. But with new ideas, you do have also some that breed bad ideas, and some of those have led to war and conflict and violence. But
yes,
once again, do we have a lot of war and violence today?
No, and really, have we started any wars the last 4 years? No, we haven't. We've taken out a few bad people.
What about torturing? Is that allowed? Is that allowed in America?
And we don't do that. It's like, hey, we need to get away from doing bad stuff like that. I mean, we had Vietnam, that was awful, and you can go back to World War II, World War I, where that changed the entire planet. Obviously, world wars, we don't have to worry about that anymore. It's more globalized, centralized conflicts in certain areas that we've been getting involved with. Now we're getting out. I'm glad that we are getting out of that stuff. We are seeing that it's just a fight not worth fighting anymore.
Right.
For sure.
When it costs a lot of blood, sweat, treasure, tears, heartache, as we become more moral and enlightened as a people, we tend to view violence and war as a very necessary evil. That it's not something that we're going to completely get rid of, because violence was just the way it was for thousands of years, because that's what you had to do to survive. But as we realized, hey, in order to thrive longer and to live longer, we have to minimize conflict. And we also should stop torturing people. And, you thank God we're not under the scrutiny of, a bunch of clergy during, the Dark Ages, where they killed 350,000 people, some just because they bathed regularly during the Spanish Inquisition.
That happened during the Inquisition. That's what I know. It's an infamous, the infamous term, but that's one of the aspects of that.
Yes, the low numbers were 350,000. Some say 500,000 dead during the Spanish Inquisition, during the witch trials, which is also, when you contrast it to what America went through during the Salem witch trials, only about 22 died. 22 total people died. That's more than enough, believe me. It's
still awful.
One is awful, right? But
I'm glad that's not happening.
Oh my
nowadays,
gosh, right?
Yeah.
Where they would check your underwear, it's clean. He's a witch, It's like,
oh my
what were they expecting to find in their underwear?
I don't know, man. But that's I can't really attest to what they thought of. I just know, I think they wrote a book called Maleficaris. I can't remember it.
It sounds like a Latin word, crazy Latin word. Yeah.
Something Maleficaris, and it's like, here's the standard of how to find witches. and this is how we're going to try them. And then we're going to torture them, and then they're going to admit that they're a witch, and then we're going to kill them. And if they don't admit it, then we'll just torture them until they die.
And I've heard the thing you throw a witch in the river and see if they float. If they float, they're a witch, or if they drown, well.
Oh, so yeah, like a
Yes.
priest would make a holy water. He would take a lake and make it holy water and bless it, and then they're like, if you float, then the water has rejected you. You're a witch. We're gonna kill you. But if you sink, then you're holy. But then by that time you drown. So either way, you're screwed. And it's like,
Oh yeah,
man, that's
they would tie something to your feet, I think, too. I don't.
yeah, it was terrible. But the fact is violence and war. It's not like what it used to be. You know,
Yes.
we don't see 40 million dead during the time of Genghis Khan when the population was 500 million. We don't see hundreds of thousands dead. I mean, the war on terror, it's awful. It really is. But when you look at how many people die from terrorism every year, which is about 400, okay, that's awful, but you have a higher chance of dying by drowning in your bathtub, or you have 10 times more chance of dying by falling down your own stairs.
Wow,
So,
that's
I mean,
crazy.
terrorism's evil. It's
And
awful.
you have awful events that occur where a lot of people die, but it usually takes one or two events. Okay, we need to get this right. We need to figure out how to prevent this. And
the majority of the world, we're kind of against terrorism. We're not
Yeah.
we're not too accepting of it. You know, France is dealing with it. The U.S. certainly not a fan of it. We are not fans of terrorism.
we all generally want to live together on this awesome planet and have a good time. I think just be entertained and
Oh yeah.
and seek pleasure. And I think war kind of cuts in against that. It can be profitable for some people, but it's just generally terrible. And
Right.
You think about how would you feel if one day you wake up to a bomb being dropped on your house, like they in Nazi Germany or in France, when they just go on these night bombing raids.
Right. You hear the sirens, you get to cover, and you hope you survive, right? But I will say this.
We don't deal with that nowadays. That's great.
Right. Would you rather fight in World War II, or would you rather fight in a war in the year 1000 where it's knives and swords and bows?
Oh, World War II for sure.
Well, why is that?
Oh my
Well, you
gosh.
say you much rather get shot than stabbed? Yeah, right? It's like,
Oh my gosh, yes.
warfare was brutal back then.
Especially with if you did get shot, you would have not Novocaine. What is the
Morphine.
Morphine,
Yeah.
yes. You would have that available to ease your suffering.
Yeah.
Like that's another great advancement that we've had.
You're fighting against people like, I don't know, the Vikings, and they're ruthless, and they'll just hack you to pieces.
And brutal, yes.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we've all seen those movies like Braveheart, and I don't know, some other stuff like that where it's just slashing and people's heads getting cut off.
Oh
and-
yeah, even the
Great for
Patriot.
television, bad to live in.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Oh my gosh.
And what were you going to do at 14 years old? And your country demands that you go do it. You're going to go do it, right? And so,
Yeah, pick up your sword and you go and fight.
oh my gosh.
And now that's a thing we have. We don't draft people anymore too for war. I appreciate that. I mean, we
Wait,
have a
selective
draft.
services is done?
We still have it, but have we had to use it since
No.
World War II?
No, we've had.
Or
yeah,
I mean, since Vietnam. I'm glad that we're not in those situations where we have to fight.
gosh,
When
yeah.
and I want to ask you, when was the last time that America was invaded by a foreign country, and we're going to exclude the terrorist attacks of 9/11?
I think Pearl Harbor, right?
Well, no, because they
mean-
just attacked the base. They knew
Yeah.
the Japanese knew better because we were well armed. They were actually
Right.
asked that, and they said, "Why didn't you?"
So I
go
guess the
start-
mainland.
the mainland.
Was-
I mean, wouldn't it be the War of 1812?
I think so. When they burned the White
when
House
they were in the
down.
White House. Yeah,
I think that
I
was
think
the
that was
last
it.
time. So think about that. How long it's over? Yeah, 100,
Almost
200 years. 200.
200 years, yeah.
Yeah, because it started in 1812, but it didn't end till what 2-3 years afterwards or so. But
yeah.
just think about that. How we don't get invaded at all, but other countries do get invaded by other countries or annexed, and they can't say anything about it. I think that's it's an example of how great America is that we don't get invaded, but how great the world is today
Yes,
too.
war is a reality. Violence and torturing still occur to this day. However, compared to the rest of human history, again, this is why we're saying it's a great time to be alive, because we're not suffering like
Yes.
our ancestors had to do. We're not suffering at the hands of foreign or our own, leaders saying, "Oh, we're going to take care of you."
Under these despotic leaders that are controlling our thoughts and telling us what to do. We don't live under those authoritarian rule
Right.
anymore. And kings and queens. How many 1776, how many kings and queens since then have we had to contend with? I mean, yeah, we have some, but we live under a government by the people for the people, and we're free to think and do the right things for our society so we can progress forward.
And that's what the most of the world is experiencing. They're free from arbitrary rule. And so that is amazing. And I think America led the way and with the Constitution and showing the world how it was done. France was the first one who said, yeah, we like that. However, they had some of their ordering of their constitution incorrect, and so unfortunately that didn't end too well. So
that French Revolution didn't end very well. A lot of guillotines being employed.
It was more about fraternity rather than morality, and so it became mob mentality, and so it was, cut a lot of people's heads off. So but yeah, I mean, we're nowadays you see most countries, man, people are more free. They're more free to innovate and create, and there's less rules against them, and so it's not perfect. But once again, comparing it to the thousands of human history, it's pretty darn good.
It's great to live today. It's great to live in this time of great progress. And it made me think of, we have, progress. It's a loaded term, progressive, progressive metal, like your shirt, BT Bam, great band, progress. I like a lot of aspects of progressivism, but what is like the difference between progress and progressivism? I guess the political ideology.
Okay, so so kind of going on polar opposites. So progress for us, right, would be human beings left alone in their own environment as individuals are free to create and to think and bring stuff to the free market and use capitalism to make a living for themselves. In that process, it tends to benefit other people. The guy who created air conditioning, it didn't turn out for him, it turned out for all of us. The guy who created the refrigerator, he didn't quite create it for himself, although he probably did, but then it turned out it was a blessing for all of us. Once again, capitalism breeds success and innovations, right? And in it, we see that the whole world is lifted up from squalor. Not just America, but now we see other countries using our innovations and actually pigging back,
yeah.
Something like that. I don't know.
Something like
Someone
that.
with a piggy in a back.
Something a pig in the back.
So that way they can create more ideas and bring it to their sphere of the world and make their area of the community better, right? It's us trying to make our lives better, which in turn make other people's better. Progressives, they want to socially engineer a perfect society where everybody is equal, where there's no such thing as inequality, there's no inequity, it's just everybody's equal, and we're going to be the ones who are going to make this administrative state to create a utopia.
Yeah, utopia is their end game, but it seems a goal that's unattainable.
Well, when you break it down, it means no place. So that's why I'm not quite a fan of the progressives, because generally the whole idea is we're going to, we don't get a picture of what the end game looks like. I want to know where your car leads to.
Where are you taking us? And are you taking us off a cliff?
Yes, because that's important. I want to know where we're going, and unfortunately, it's a car that has no brakes.
Yeah,
and so
I like
for progressives, it's we're going to keep going, and we're going to find something to advance society on. Has everything they've done been terrible? No. But once again, it's the whole how they view the world rather than the individual being the most important. It's the collective. And in the collective, we tend to forget the individual because they're concerned about humanity, which is a broad statement. I like humanity, right?
Yes.
But
we all like humanity for sure.
But but they tend to neglect the individual. Individuals, as I tell my students all the time, you guys are stones, you're not bricks. You can't take a kid and just, build a tower. Each kid's different. They have different needs. They have different abilities. They have different passions, talents, gifts. And so they're a unique stone. And so a stone wall is more beautiful than a brick wall. And so that's off the top of my head. I think that's the best idea or best
analysis of it.
Analysis.
For sure. Yeah. I certainly like progress myself. I think that's what has led to why it is the greatest time to live. Like, what a time to be alive.
Right. Because
today.
We have more wealth. We have more access to education, to literacy, to food, to water.
Clean water, and sanitation.
And wealth has really benefited our environment. I want to add that, using fossil fuels, oil, natural gas, that has not only allowed us to clean up our environment and reduce pollution, believe it or not, it has made it more livable. We take this dangerous environment and we make it safe to live in. And that's why I'm a huge fan of fossil fuels. I love fossil fuels.
I definitely want to get into that with you and ask about your perspective on that. That's very interesting.
That's going to be a little bit, that's for
down the road.
Down the road there, because I'm a huge fan of fossil fuels. You know, the shirt you wear on your back, to your watch, to your car, to your buildings, to your everything. It's all because of fossil fuels. And you know, I think it's wealth has created the ability for us to take our environment and make it more livable and safer and just cleaner. It really has. I mean, if you look at where America was a few 100 years ago, if you look at some of the rivers, you had like dead cats, you had dead dogs, you had floating debris, you had parts of buildings all floating in the river. I mean, we don't see that. I've never seen something like that. I've been to Washington, I've been to a few different states where I'm looking at the river and it's really clean.
Yeah, we take steps to take care of our environment that we live in.
Right.
Because we like it. We like living here on this planet. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not one to just, you know, say, oh, I don't do anything to take care of it. I don't believe in littering. I think you should recycle. You should do things that will, you know, obviously take care of the earth, but, you know, you should also utilize the resources it gives you to make it better, not only for yourself, but for the rest of humanity, right? My standard of value is humanity, not the environment. And so I want to move off of that, or else we could open up that can of worms. That's a lot there.
Oh,
so
man.
We're missing something else. What else? There's another great reason why it's a great time to be alive. Oh, yeah, equality. I mean, is it perfect?
No, it's not. Okay. It's not perfect. I feel today that we have more of an equality of opportunity than outcome.
So you don't want everybody to have the same things and the same stuff?
I want everybody to be able to go out and seek their fortune and seek the things that they want in their life, but it shouldn't be given to them.
Okay.
They have to work for it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, if we look at across the world, you know, for the last few thousand years, yes, nothing has been perfect, especially for, you know, a lot of marginalized groups of people and women. It hasn't been the best of conditions, but compared to today, for the rest of history, yeah, we're doing really good. There's so many different opportunities for these people to move up and advance, and for other people to assimilate into society and to create more wealth, to be more wealthy, and just equality is it's at an all-time high.
Oh, absolutely. It's never been greater to live, and especially in this country, but in the world today, the equality level is super high, as you said. I'm so happy to live in this country, but to live in this world at this time, here in 2020, even in the midst of a global pandemic, it's still a great time to be alive. Yeah, for sure.
Again, I was sitting at my house earlier today, and I'm just thinking, I'm looking around, seeing everything I have, the ability to grab food, water. I could go play video games. I could watch fun stuff. I could go out and enjoy this, or we live better than all the royalty of all human history, you know, and they were top of the food chain back then. But what led to it? Was it people just working towards it, and then that was the natural state of progress, or was it an idea or an economic system?
I think it was combined with people, the good nature of people working with capitalism to progress, not be progressives, but progress towards a brighter future. And I think we're heading towards that every day for sure with this country and this world that we're in right now for sure.
Right. So there is such a thing as crony capitalism, right? Are you a fan?
No, I don't. I want to be honest brokers.
Right. Yeah, I'm the same way.
That's what I want our capitalism system to be.
So if there's a few people that are dishonest using capitalism and doing crony capitalism, should we throw the whole system out with it?
Not the whole system, just those individuals that did wrong.
Right.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think the whole point of where we're getting at today is we have an amazing opportunity in this life, and I really want to give credit to capitalism. That is what led to us having everything we have now. And it's just what an amazing economic engine that's just really benefited everybody. There's not a single person who is under the boot of capitalism that is suffering. It's I mean, if you look at Hong Kong, right? Mm-hmm. That's why they're kind of revolting against China, because they're trying to clamp down with their tyrannical laws and regulations. And they're like, no, we're a free market. And so free markets are great. And so I'm super grateful for it. And it's amazing.
And I hope today that we provided a good historical perspective, showing the context of way things were in the past to really appreciate how great we have it today. I think I think that's lost on a lot of people. A lot of people take it for granted. And I just want people to be appreciative of where you live and when the time that you live in, because it could have been worse it could have been awful. You were born in if you were born in royalty, you probably had a good life.
Right.
Hundreds of years ago.
Back then, right?
But now we all are pretty much living in royalty compared to then.
Right. And I hope it gets spread more across the world. I hope these ideas and these innovations are reached far wide across the world, so that way we can alleviate human suffering and increase human longevity and have longer life expectancies and happier individuals. And with that breeds more ideas and innovations, and it's just an endless cycle of opportunity. And I hope we do progress towards that way. And so, awesome topic, man. I really enjoyed talking about this, man.
Yeah,
it was great.
So, I mean, and unfortunately, we're only pulling parts. Like, we had to stop.
There's so much,
Say, what are the most important parts?
We can go on forever about this, about the greatest things that have been accomplished and comparing it to where it was before. But yeah, you have to put a cap on it for sure. There's too much.
Things are not perfect.
Unpack.
Yes, things are not perfect. We're not claiming that, but when you look at the whole context of history, I would say it's perfect. And with that, I think that concludes this episode. So
absolutely,
awesome.
Thank you. And please, and we're not perfect either, and we want to know. Please,
I am.
Yeah. Please let us know.
Give me a break.
Quick reminder from the beginning to let us know about the setup here. If you like what we've done with the background and then this new table setup,
I don't mind talking to you like this. I thought it was fun. I could do it again. I don't mind.
We're all fans of this. We change it, but we want to know what you think. Please let us know in the comments below.
And don't forget to join us next week as we talk about another awesome episode. And have a good Thanksgiving.
Yes, thank you. Everyone, happy Thanksgiving.
Water cheers. Looky, you made it to the end of our video. Thank you so much. And for that, a round of applause. Not too much.
And if you haven't already, click here to subscribe.
And if you missed our last episode, click here. Let's go eat some pizza. Donnie, this way.